Hey guys, Ben Nash from Pivot Wealth, and today I'm pumped to be here with Karen Eley. Karen is a money coach expert at Women Talking Finance, ex-financial advisor for more than a decade. I've been involved in helping people with their money for a very long time. So I'm keen to pick Karen's brain around some of the psychology, mindset, and things that sometimes hold us back, as well as some of the hacks that we can do to I suppose use these beautiful brains of ours to our advantage. Karen, thanks for joining us.
Hey Ben, thanks for having me. Hey listeners.
Look, I thought a good place to start is maybe just starting at the basics. And I hear the term money mindset thrown around a little bit. What is a money mindset?
Our money mindset is basically our overriding attitudes that we have around our finances, and they're very much based on our beliefs and our thoughts. So during our earlier childhood, we decided that certain things about money. So we formed thoughts and beliefs around what money does. So what money gives us, the purpose of money, what money should be used for, or what money shouldn't be used for. We also form thoughts and beliefs around our ability to attract money, our worthiness of earning it, growing it, and keeping it, as well as thoughts around being wealthy, having wealth, around poverty, around not having money, and around how we use debt. So all of our patterns and behaviors that we have today are formed within our money mindset. And that's essentially what a mindset is. It's our thought
Okay.
process.
Look, I see this obviously, doing the work that we do as financial advisors, that we see that people's mindset is influencing the decisions that we make. And I sort of geek out on the behavioral finance stuff and, all the biases and heuristics and things that can, impact the decisions that we make and how we make decisions more broadly as well. But for people that haven't come across too much of this stuff, how do you feel that your money mindset really, like, what are the key practical things that we see that how our money mindset impacts what we're actually doing with our money?
Yeah, great question. So our thoughts and beliefs impact our emotions. So looking and checking on your emotions. So do you have emotions when you think about money that are really positive and happy and abundant? Or do you feel more anxiety and restriction, fear, overwhelm, wanting to avoid it? Because whatever those emotions that you experience around money and your own finances, they're a product of what you think about it. And so as human beings, we want to experience certain emotions in our life, whether that be happy or sad or whatever it is. And so it drives our behaviors. So we start with our thoughts, we then move into our emotions and feelings, which drives our behaviors. And our behaviors might be overspending or oversaving or not taking action, being indecisive, or taking too much risk or not enough risk. And those behaviors then produce our financial results. So kind of where we sit. So I often say to clients, your financial results are a direct reflection of your inner beliefs around money.
It's really interesting. I find that there's probably two situations where, or maybe there's more than that, but there's a couple of things that do come up with people that we're working with that I just find I mentioned to you a little bit just before we fired up the camera that I started getting a little bit into money mindset about 4 or so years ago, where I got introduced to a lady that was a mindset coach, and she started teaching me about limiting beliefs, and I never really knew that much about them. But after she started explaining them to me, I then started seeing the people that we were talking to, how limiting beliefs were impacting them. And I think one really common one is people that so afraid of taking any risk. They might be really good at saving, but they're just too scared of doing the wrong thing, and they end up doing nothing, and they end up with these huge amounts of cash. And it's great to have a big bunch of cash, but cash isn't going to make you wealthy because interest rates are really low, and inflation, even if we're not in the ultra high inflation environment that we're seeing at the moment, inflation is running at higher than interest rates generally. So that means that your money's going backwards, or certainly not really growing that much. But they just can't seem to pull the trigger on something. That's a common one that I see. Maybe I'll ask you in turn, but for people in that sort of situation, what should they be thinking about, or what should they be doing to overcome? Because I think that they recognize the fear. They also recognize that they need to do something, but it can be overwhelming and it can be a big barrier. For someone like that, what should they do?
Yeah, so I was working with a client for the last couple of months, and she went and saw two financial advisors because she had this lump sum of money she'd been sitting on for a couple of years and just was too scared to do anything. And the third financial advisor she went and met with said, "You don't need to see me yet. You need to go and see Karen." So we worked together around that. And what I take a client through a journey of is understanding that underlying, that the cause or the origin of that behavior. So if someone is scared to take action, I want to uncover as to why, because whatever we do, there's always a reason for why we do it. And it's generally to protect ourselves, Ben. So what we need to do is go back and find the origin of the first time that they felt fearful around making a decision. And what's really important to understand is we all have this brain that we're given, and it is so powerful, but most of us don't know how to use it. So just like you geek out on this stuff, I geek out on neuroscience and the study of the brain. It is so fascinating, and I could talk about it all the time. But so basically, what our brain is doing is its sole purpose is to protect us and keep us safe. And so when we come across certain events or we experience something, it sends signals to our brain. So if I use it in the context of the first time you ever burnt yourself on an oven tray or in the oven, or burnt yourself on something hot, like your brain sent a signal which wired and fired and created a pattern of putting your hand in the oven is scary and dangerous. And so it's wired that, and it's there to protect you, to say, never do that again. The same thing applies to our money. So at some stage in that person's life, they decided or they learned that taking action with money or investing or doing something where you've got the opportunity to grow your money, that is dangerous. And so no matter what you tell them, it is so deeply hardwired, it's fired and wired with their neurons that it just seems dangerous. It seems too dangerous or unsafe to do. And so unconsciously, that is what's going on in their mind, and that they just won't be able to take action. So I'm there to help uncover that first event that they had, that defining moment around why they decided that taking that action was dangerous. And there's really good information around trauma to the brain. So we can have two types of trauma. We can have a trauma that's kind of like a capital T, and that might be something around a death of a family member. So you lose a parent. It could be a parent losing their job and then being in huge financial stress and having to sell their house and start renting, or it could be around a divorce or something like that, family breakup. So that's kind of what you call a big capital T trauma. But then we can also have little traumas, Ben, like you could have knocked over your mum's favourite vase, and you got really shamed for being an 8-year-old that just kind of was kicking the ball around the house and broke your mum's favourite vase. And there's different ways that your mum could have responded to that. And she said, "Ben, you are so naughty. That is so bad. You're really shamed for breaking this vase." And as a little 8-year-old, Ben decided that things are more important than money. Like, my mum's possessions are more important than me. And so with that really immature thinking, you create that danger around, I never want to have money being more important than the people I love. And that is your origin in your defining behavior that has created that belief that you have around not wanting to take action with something or to create more money for yourself. It can be that simple.
Yes, but then what do we do? Because I think people, and it's normally the people we talk to, they're pretty switched on people, but they feel this, they got this feeling, they know they need to do something, but they're sort of stuck. How can they overcome that to actually, take action that they know that they need to take to get the results that they want?
Yeah, the first is that awareness, Ben. So it's about finding the origin, that defining event for them that formed that belief. So where did that thinking come from? And having that awareness. And then an acknowledging that, yeah, that's not right. Like what I made it believe is incorrect. It was just the thinking and story that I made up as a young child. And so then it's about, you've got this autopilot going on unconsciously in your brain. And now it's about, well, I need to change that. So we've got these neural pathways in our brain that is going A, B, A, B. We now need to change that to AC, AC. We want to change that pathway. So they're now looking at a different opportunity or different outcome. And one of the best ways to do that is through, well, what do I need to believe instead? And that might be something like, it is okay to invest money. I'm not going to lose all of my money. Leaving my money in cash is going to lose more money than putting my money into the market. And our brain just needs to rewire and set a new neural pathway. So it's really around affirmations, mantras, just changing the beliefs that we have around that and the thinking, because that thinking's been with us probably for decades.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and maybe it's the same thing, but there's probably two other main ones that I see. One is like people are just afraid of trusting anyone. And like, I know you used to be a financial advisor. And I think we've seen that there unfortunately there are situations that have happened in the past where people haven't got ideal outcomes from having people helping them with their money, and in that situation they can be a little bit, they're like got that shell shock that they just don't believe anyone, and it's like it doesn't really matter, even though they go through the process and like stress testing everything and they can see it's all there, but then they still just have this ingrained thing that they don't want to, you know, there must be something wrong or something that they're not missing that's going to cause them trouble. The other big one that I see a lot is people that are they just overspend, and I get how easy it is for that one because you get that dopamine hit when you spend. But when it gets to the point where people go, they're spending so much and they're so frustrated with their not achieving any of their wealth goals, and they see that the things that they want for the future are just never going to happen if they keep going as they're going, but they still keep spending. I'm like, I'd feel sorry for people in that, because it's like, you know, it's a difficult situation. Is it simply the same approach to just shift the beliefs, create a new set of beliefs and work through it? Or are there any other hacks that people in those situations can be thinking about?
Yeah, overspending is a really common one. And you're right, Ben, it's about, we get those dopamine hits. Like we have so many different chemicals in our body. We're like walking pharmacies of like, there's so many different natural drugs going on there. And we get used to certain states and we get addicted to those, like you mentioned, the dopamine hit. So it is very much working in tandem with the body and those chemical overrides, as well as the mind. So it is a bit of both. And for people that do suffer from overspending, it's about uncovering what that spending gives them. So what is the underlying motivation or driver for spending money? Because typically it comes down to, there's different reasons why. One of those might be not feeling good enough. So basically all of us adults are walking around wounded children. We've all got hurt and traumas from our childhood. And quite often we use money to try and rewrite those wounds and overcompensate. Or if we were deprived as children and kind of everyone had the cool t-shirts and the cool sneakers at school, but I didn't because we were poor. Well, that child might have made a decision that I never want to be poor, and whatever I want, I'm going to get for myself. And so that is now their strategy that they carry into their 20s and 30s and onwards. It's like they made a promise to themselves that I never want to feel like I don't fit in, like I miss out. So it's again about having that awareness of what is the reason why you're overspending, and unpacking that.
Fascinating. It's fascinating, all of that stuff. But so you're now working as a money coach and your job is essentially helping people with this stuff. How does that actually work? What does a money coach do? What does it look like?
Yeah, so just like there's two sides of a dollar coin, there's two sides to managing our money. So the traditional side is what you do in terms of the cash flow, budgeting, investing, insurance, retirement planning. That's all external to us. as a money coach, I work on the internal. So it's all about your relationship with money. So it's your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And we work on that. And it's quite a unique 4-step process where it's really a journey of self-discovery. So the first session is understanding your own money story. So where have you come from? What was childhood like for you around money? Was there lots of money to go around and it was very safe to spend, and you felt like you had enough and there was always enough there for you? Or was it more of you were quite poor and money was tight and it caused stress between parents? Really get to understand the environment that you grew up in with a financial lens on it. So we really unpack that because we're looking for sort of when patterns and behaviors and beliefs were formed. And that is the awareness piece. And then the second piece is really looking at your environment and the role models that you have. So as a human species, we very much evolve, and for us to feel like it's almost a survival mechanism is you need to model the people around you. So if we go back to that instinctual, very primitive cave people, you had to stay connected to your tribe to stay alive, because if you went off and did something different or outcasted, you'd be the happy meal of a woolly mammoth or something like that. It just wasn't safe to go out in the wild. And there's still a big part of that brain functioning that we carry through today that we've inherited as a species. And so it's very much that instinctual. So we are constantly looking from the minute we're born as to who we model and be like. So that comes down to our parents or the adults around us. So as a money coach, I have a look into that and we explore. So what are the traits and the characteristics and behaviors of the people that were around you in those young imprinted years? And did you unconsciously inherit those patterns and behaviors that they had? Or did you see what they did and thought, that is wrong, I'm doing the complete opposite? But one way or another, the people that were around you, healthy or unhealthy, really influence the way that you are with money today. So we look at that. And then we focus on, well, what are those behaviors and traits that are really holding you back? So is it not taking that next step to investing? Is it being in a job where you don't earn a lot of money and you don't feel worthy of earning money? Or are you stuck in a job that you earn significant amounts of money, but it doesn't make you happy or bring you joy? So you have to look to other places to bring you joy. And that could be that piece of overspending. So we'll focus on those patterns of behaviors, and then we want to create healthy opposites. So we use a combination of practical strategies, emotional and behavioral strategies, as well as some spiritual ones as well, because at the end of the day, we are very much energetic beings. So it's focusing on those energy levels as well that we carry within our bodies.
Mm-hmm. And what's your go-to? What are a couple of the most effective strategies? Because it's like, okay, we're all messed up. We get that. We're walking children for sure. We recognize that there's an issue, or that, I think regardless of anywhere, that no matter where someone's at, you can probably always do a little bit better with this stuff. But for anyone that knows that there needs to be some change, what are the practical things that you actually do to, create those new connections or new stories?
Yeah. My go-to hack for that would be a practice of forgiveness. So whether that being forgiving yourself, because we can be really hard on ourselves in terms of, I made a couple of mistakes when I was younger. I received some money and I just blew it all, or I earned a good income, but I just pissed it away at the bar, or whatever those actions were that you took with your money. It's about forgiving that, because otherwise those emotions sit within our body and they block us and they tell us certain things about ourselves. So we believe that we're not good with money, or that money slips through our fingers, or whatever those beliefs are. So it's about forgiving that and going through a reconciliation process with yourself to kind of just acknowledge it, forgive it, and then move forward.
Interesting.
So that is one.
Yeah. What are you seeing coming off the back of the COVID lockdown and, all the disruption to everyone's lives over the last couple of years? Are there any trends that you've noticed that you think have been influenced by that when it comes to people and their money mindset?
Yes. So while there's been some terrible outcomes from COVID, I think one of the more positive ones is people are slowing down in terms of making their decisions. So quite often we can be very responsive, coming from that instinctual part of our brain or the emotional part of our brain where we just go and do things by default. We now have been given the time or restriction to kind of go, okay, there's a pause there between going and buying that thing or getting credit card debt to go on a holiday. And so we're being more intentional about how we spend our money and our time. And so I see it's been, for most of the clients that I've worked with, being a positive thing. It's like, yeah, I've noticed more money building up in my bank account because I haven't been able to go out and spend that. And now I'm being more conscious around, well, how do I spend that? And it's very much about getting back to your values. I do a lot of work with clients around values because our values are kind of like that compass. And for us to get the most out of our money and our time and our life, it's about being aligned with what those values are.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that also it's given people a little bit of time to catch up on those life admin things that when you're just in the bunker, after that initial shock of the world's going to end past, then people are going, well, actually, no, I can tick a few things off my to-do list, which creates a bit of bandwidth to focus on this sort of stuff, which is obviously great.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Karen, for people that are keen to sort of learn more about their money mindset and this space, what should they do?
So there's lots of different resources that you can look in regards to money coaching. So you could work with a money coach or you could do some practices yourself. So very much journaling is a great thing to do. So when things come up for you, it's kind of just write things down because we have so much rolling around in our mind that there's a lot of power in writing it down and looking at it from a different perspective. And kind of just observing your own thoughts and emotions around your finances and being able to language and articulate those are really helpful.
Interesting. Yeah, I think with anything, awareness is key as a starting point, and then it's going to start sort of shaping what potential solutions are. Karen, thank you so much for sharing your insights. For anyone that's keen to learn more about you and what you do and what you're about, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can find me at womentalkingfinance.com.au. I also put a lot of information on LinkedIn as well, so they can find me there. I'm there a fair bit, or Instagram too.
Awesome. Well, my very last question for you is that if you could go back to your 21-year-old self and give them one piece of money advice, what would it be?
Save 10% of everything you earned. My father told me that when I was 12 years old. He gave me The Richest Book in Babylon, the story. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. So it is about saving 10% of everything you earn. So that is the one piece of advice I would give myself. Save and invest 10% of every dollar that you earn, because the dollars today aren't just for today, they're for tomorrow as well.
I love it. Wise words there. Karen, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers, team. Bye for now.